The average Canadian credit card balance right now is $4,652. Not a number from 10 years ago. Not a worst-case scenario. The national average, per person, as of Q3 2025, according to Equifax Canada. And 54% of Canadians are currently carrying a credit card balance month to month. More than half the country. Not paying it off. Carrying it. Here is what that balance is actually costing them. At the standard Canadian credit card rate of 20.99%, which has not changed at most major banks despite every Bank of Canada rate move, that $4,652 balance generates approximately $976 in interest charges per year. That's $81 per month. Going straight to the bank. Building nothing. Owning nothing. Producing nothing. But that's not even the full story, because the way compound interest works at 20.99%, when you only make minimum payments, the real cost of that $4,652 balance isn't $976 per year. It's something far more disturbing. And it's what this video is about. Here is the most important thing to understand about credit card debt. And it is something the banks count on you never calculating. Credit card interest at 20.99% is not simple interest. It is compound interest, calculated daily, charged monthly, working against you with the same mathematical force that makes investments grow for the wealthy. When compound interest grows your investment, it's the eighth wonder of the world. When compound interest grows your debt, it's a trap designed to keep you paying forever. Here's the math. A $4,200 balance paid at the minimum payment only would cost over $12,500 in interest and take decades to pay off, according to Wealth North's 2026 household debt analysis. You borrow $4,200. You pay back $16,700. Let's be even more specific with the average Canadian balance. On a $4,652 balance at 20.99%, making only the typical minimum payment of approximately 2% to 3% of the balance, you borrow $4,652. You make minimum payments. 27 years later, you are still paying. And by the time you're done, you have paid back more than 3 times what you originally borrowed. This is not a hypothetical. This is the mathematical reality of 20.99% compound interest, and it's what the payment-to-balance ratio data confirms. That ratio deteriorated from 33.8% in 2023 to just 31% in 2025, meaning interest charges now consume most of what people pay each month. Most of the minimum payment goes to interest, not to reducing the balance. The balance barely moves. The clock keeps running. The bank keeps collecting. And here's the part that makes this genuinely dangerous. The interest isn't charged on what you originally borrowed. It's charged on the entire outstanding balance, including the interest that was added last month. That's compound interest at 20.99%, working in reverse. Your debt growing on top of itself every single day. Your action step: go to any online credit card payoff calculator right now. Enter your actual balance, your actual rate, your actual minimum payment. See exactly how many years you're sentenced to if you only pay the minimum. That number is the wake-up call. Here's what's happening at the national scale. And it's worse than most Canadians realize. Total credit card balances in Canada reached $124 billion in 2025, up 9.2% year over year, according to Canadian Debt Relief's 2025 analysis. To put $124 billion in context, that's roughly $3,200 in credit card debt for every single Canadian. Man, woman, child, in the entire country. Total Canadian consumer debt reached $2.52 trillion in Q2 2025, up 4.4% year-over-year, according to TransUnion's Q2 2025 Credit Industry Insights report. That's a 15% increase since Q1 2022. Among Canadians carrying balances, the picture is generational, and the youngest Canadians are being hit hardest. According to Canadian Debt Relief's 2025 data, Gen Z credit participation rose 29%, and balances increased over 25%. Millennials saw a 35% spike in credit card balances among insolvent borrowers. Millennials and Gen Z combined now hold $1.1 trillion in consumer credit, up 10% year-over-year. 72% of millennials are carrying credit card balances month to month. And here's the most alarming single data point in this entire story. 58% of Canadian credit card customers were classified as financially unhealthy in 2025, up from 57% in 2024. That classification is getting worse every year, not better. 22% of Canadians plan to take on more debt in 2025 just to manage basic living costs, not to buy luxuries, not to go on vacation, to pay for essentials, groceries, utilities, rent. The credit card has become the last resort for millions of Canadians who have run out of margin. And the store card reality makes it even grimmer. While standard Visa and MasterCard rates run 19 to 21% APR, store and retail credit cards frequently charge 24 to 29% APR. The cards most aggressively marketed to budget-conscious shoppers through points programs and Save 20% Today when you open an account carry the highest interest rates. Your action step: check every credit card in your wallet right now. Write down the APR on each one. If any of them are above 21%, you are on the expensive end of an already expensive product category. Let's make compound interest at 20.99% as visceral as it actually is. Because when you see the exponential curve of debt, it is impossible to unsee. Simple interest grows in a straight line. You borrow $5,000 at 20% simple interest, and you owe $1,000 more each year. Predictable? Linear. Compound interest at 20.99% doesn't grow in a straight line. It grows like a hockey stick. Slow at first, then explosively. Here's what an unpaid $5,000 credit card balance looks like if you stop making payments entirely, letting compound interest run unchecked. Year 1, $6,050. Year 10, $34,052. At 20.99% compounded annually. No payments made. In 10 years, $5,000 becomes $34,052. Not because you borrowed more, because compound interest at nearly 21% doubles your debt approximately every 3.5 years. Following the Rule of 72. The Rule of 72 works both ways. At 8% annual return, your investment doubles every 9 years. At 20.99% credit card interest, your debt doubles every 3.4 years. Now here's the contrast that should permanently change how you think about credit card debt. That same $5,000, invested instead of owed, growing at 8% annual return. Year 1, $5,400. Year 10, $10,795. At year 10, the debt scenario produces a $34,052 liability. The investment scenario produces a $10,795 asset. The gap between those two outcomes from the same $5,000 is $44,847, in just 10 years. That is the real cost of carrying credit card debt instead of investing. It is not just the interest you pay. It is every dollar of compounding wealth you will never build because the money is already gone. Your action step: apply the rule of 72 to your own credit card rate right now. Divide 72 by your APR. That's how many years until your debt doubles if you stop paying it down aggressively. For 20.99%, that's 3.4 years. For a 24% store card, that's 3 years exactly. If the math is this clear, why are 54% of Canadians still carrying a balance? Because credit cards are not designed for your financial benefit. They are designed for yours and the bank's convenience. And they weaponize human psychology to keep balances growing. The minimum payment illusion. When the minimum payment is small, $93 on a $4,652 balance, the brain registers, "I'm handling this." The number feels manageable. It doesn't feel like a 27-year debt sentence. It doesn't feel like $8,900 in interest. It feels like $93. The minimum payment is specifically set to feel non-threatening while maximizing the interest the bank collects. The spend today, pay later disconnect. Dozens of behavioral economic studies confirm that paying with credit creates less psychological pain than paying with cash or debit. Swiping a card disconnects the emotional experience of spending from the reality of money leaving. You enjoy the purchase immediately. The cost arrives weeks later, diluted across a statement full of other charges, by which point the emotional anchoring is gone. The reward points trap. Average monthly credit card spending in Canada declined 17% from $1,618 in 2023 to $1,336 in 2025, suggesting Canadians are cutting back on discretionary spending, while the total balance keeps rising. Many Canadians are now using credit for essentials while chasing points that are worth far less than the interest they're paying to earn them. Points on a credit card you pay off monthly. Valuable. Points on a credit card you carry a balance on. Among the most expensive rewards you'll ever earn. The $200 in annual travel points is not worth the $976 in interest on a $4,652 balance. The financial stress feedback loop. The data from J.D. Power shows that average satisfaction scores among Canadians with a $10,000 plus balance is 518, significantly lower than those with $1,000 to $5,000 balances. As the debt grows, the stress grows. And financial stress, as the Princeton Bandwidth Tax Research confirms, impairs the decision-making needed to escape. The debt creates the conditions that make it harder to escape the debt. Your action step. Write your actual credit card balance on a piece of paper. Next to it, write what 3 times that number is. That's what minimum payments will cost you. The physical act of writing removes the psychological buffer the minimum payment creates. Here's the escape plan. It's built entirely around the same compound interest math that created the problem, just pointing it in the right direction. Step 1. Stop feeding the balance. Before anything else, stop adding to your credit card balance. This sounds obvious. It is the hardest step for the 22% of Canadians borrowing just to cover basics, because the underlying cost of living pressure is real. But every dollar you add to the balance today costs you $3 over a minimum payment timeline. If you must use credit for essentials while you build a cash buffer, use a low-rate credit card. In Canada, low-rate cards offer APRs of 8.99% to 13.99%, roughly half the standard rate. Switching a $4,652 balance from 20.99% to 12.99% saves approximately $372 per year in interest immediately. Same balance, different card, $372 back. Step 2. Attack the highest rate balance first. Avalanche method. If you have multiple cards, pay the minimums on all but the highest rate card, and throw every extra dollar at the highest rate. This is mathematically optimal. At 20.99% compounding, every extra dollar you pay toward your balance generates a guaranteed 20.99% return, better than almost any investment on Earth. A $4,652 balance paid with an extra $200 per month above the minimum, paid off in approximately 20 months instead of 27 years. Total interest paid, approximately $700 instead of $8,900 plus. That single strategy, $200 per month extra, saves you over $8,200 in interest and 25 years of payments. Step 3. Consider a balance transfer. Many Canadian credit cards offer balance transfer promotions at 0% to 5% for 6 to 12 months. A balance transfer from a 20.99% card to a 0% promotion for 12 months on a $4,652 balance saves approximately $820 in interest in 1 year alone, provided you pay the balance off before the promotional rate expires. The transfer fee is typically 1% to 3% of the balance. On $4,652, that's $46 to $140. The interest saving is $820. The math is clear. Step 4. Once the balance is 0, flip the math entirely. This is the moment the mathematics reverse completely. A 0 credit card balance costs you nothing. Used strategically for cash back, for purchase protection, for rewards, and paid in full every single month. The credit card becomes a tool that extracts value from the bank, not the other way around. The $976 per year that was going to interest, now it goes to you. Invest it. At 8% annual return over 30 years, $976 per year. The interest you were paying becomes $119,622. Tax-free if held in a TFSA. Same money, different direction, completely different outcome. Your action step. Calculate your exact payoff date using the avalanche method with the maximum extra payment you can make this month. Then set up an automatic payment for that amount starting this pay period. The automation is what makes it happen consistently, not motivation. Let's come back to the $4,652. That's the average Canadian credit card balance right now. Minimum payments only. 27 years, $8,900 in interest, $13,552 paid back on a $4,652 debt. Extra $200 per month on top of the minimum. 20 months, $700 in interest. Done. And once it's done, that $976 per year that was going to interest, invested at 8% for 30 years, $119,622. Tax-free. The compound interest that has been working against 54% of Canadians for years flips completely the moment the balance hits 0. The same mathematical force, the same exponential curve, just pointing in the right direction. $124 billion in Canadian credit card balances. 58% of cardholders financially unhealthy. 72% of millennials carrying balances. 27 years on a minimum payment plan. These are not statistics about other people. The average balance is $4,652, which means tens of millions of Canadians are in exactly this position right now. The escape plan is 4 steps. Stop feeding the balance. Attack it with the avalanche method. Consider a balance transfer. And the moment it hits zero, invest every dollar that was going to interest. The math that was killing you becomes the math that builds you.